going, everybody? Welcome to another pre-built gaming PC video. Now, if you may be asking to yourself, Alex, what is this? What are these videos you're making? Another pre-built video? Where's the Apple stuff? Well, I can't make PC build guides because unfortunately, as you can tell, there is no graphics cards and parts are kind of hard to get your hands on. So basically, most people can get their hands on this. So I felt that it would be appropriate to cover content relating to pre-built gaming PCs. Last week, we checked out Lenovo's system, which happened to be a pretty good bargain for what you were getting, comparing it to all the other trash systems out there. Now, this one, the Asus ROG Strix, pretty good brand, you'd assume, but when we take a look at some of the reviews on the Best Buy page, you would see some very questionable things regarding one aspect that is always overlooked with these pre-builds. So you would believe that if these manufacturers would actually listen to their customers, they would actually be making better usable systems right out of the box without having to do any upgrading or changing fans out, just right out of the box. But unfortunately, we have people saying on one side that this system is amazing and it's the best system for the money, and then the other side, people saying that this thing is an absolute frying pan of a gaming system. Now we're gonna do some investigating today. Open this sucker up, do some benchmarking, and see if we can fix some of these issues and create an actual good system for the money. So let's start the investigation process and see if there's some good stuff in here. Your included peripherals, like your amazing gaming mouse that gets tossed to the side, and a pre-built gaming keyboard, which probably gonna be a similar quality to the mouse that I just tossed at the wall. It seemed to have exploded. Yeah, it looks pretty questionable. Okay, I think that's it. Let's go look at the computer. All of the packaging I've seen bundled with this system so far looks like it will be able to survive even the most ridiculous conditions that UPS or FedEx or DHL can throw at it. So wouldn't be too concerned about my system shipping and arriving damaged, but always, make sure. So let's see what this guy looks like, just first time fresh out of the box. This top handle is quite useful for moving it around, so I gotta give him that. Overall, it looks pretty solid for airflow. I mean, there's a ton of vents everywhere. It is raised up, so I assume you'll be able to get a little bit more airflow out of the power supply, and not seeing a lot of fans. And it's got one of those stock coolers. So let's crack this guy open and do our usual detective work. Taking a glance at the inside, it actually looks like they're using some legit components in here. We have an actual full force, full-sized, non-blower RTX 3070. The fan, they always do this. They always put these like crappy stock fans and don't use real good fans. The exhaust fan also looks really small for what they're using, but something I've never seen in these systems is actual dual channel RAM, which is really good. That means it's 3200 megahertz and there's 2 sticks, 8 gigs, 16. I like it. I like that they didn't put one 16 gig stick because that's what everyone seems to do. And yeah, cable management looks okay, but everything else looks pretty standard. You have a nice motherboard. You actually have good little heat sinks. Okay, let's check out the back. Okay, so the back of the computer doesn't look bad. Pretty solid cable management. We have the Acbel P2G 750 watt, which is 80 plus gold apparently. Doesn't look horrible. I've never heard of that brand. I'm gonna do a little bit more research on that. And the back panel is okay. I mean, they have these like design holes on the back. Don't think that's really doing anything for cooling, but it looks nice. Okay, let's turn this on and see about the cooling issues. Let's see. So the I/O on this computer is actually really good. There's USB-A, USB-C, headphone, mic, and there's actually a little bit of a headphone stand that kind of pops out, which I actually really like. Now, is it a little bit questionable on the quality of the plastic? Don't know if I'd trust my headphones on that, but the rear I/O is also really good. Like there's a ton of ports back here. You have HDMI, DisplayPort, a BIOS dedicated slot. You have a ton of USB-A ports, USB-C, then you have a 2.5 gig Ethernet jack, Wi-Fi 6, another Type-C, tons of different audio jacks. Like this is, again, legit motherboard. I like what Asus is doing, and the power supply actually has a button, which is good, because the last one we looked at was, oh my goodness, that power supply looked kind of dangerous. All right, so I just booted everything on, and it's running Windows 10 stock. Not Windows 11 like what we saw on the Lenovo system last week, but the one concerning thing is the amount of heat this guy is kicking out right now. We're at idle. I haven't installed anything other than GeForce Experience for recording the desktop, and the fans have been ramping up pretty crazy. Now, the actual bloatware situation doesn't seem to be that bad. I mean, the desktop is just a classic Asus wallpaper that you probably see like on a business computer. My Asus software for like your warranty information and support. And other than that, I think we have Armoury Crate and the Aura Creator, which I guess is for like the RGB and controlling all the other things. So one thing I haven't seen yet is our friends from McAfee Antivirus, which is surprising because they seem to be on every single pre-build. And there it is. What a surprise. McAfee Live Safe is on this computer. Now, something that I want to see is what Task Manager looks like right now. So we're running at around 2% on the CPU, which is good. The RAM is running at its advertised speed of 3200 megahertz. And other than that, looks pretty good. Nothing looks completely out of the ordinary. I'd love to see how the temps are though, when you actually install some gaming benchmarks and some other benchmarks. So let's put some stuff on it and see how it runs, because this thing is looking pretty ominous in the temp area. This computer seems to run as hot as the sun while gaming. In Cyberpunk, while driving through the city, the CPU decided it was a good time to cook up a meal running at 85 to 87 degrees Celsius. Siege followed up with more toasty temps, but the GPU stayed at a manageable temperature throughout the entire benchmark. It really seems to only be the CPU that's having these thermal issues. And believe it or not, I actually managed not to crash while playing all of these games. I was at sometimes unfortunately unable to hear my teammates over the roaring rear fan wind turbine that managed to make a lot of noise and sound like a mini hurricane, but was unable to make a difference as the CPU cooked itself while loading up Tarkov at 100 degrees Celsius. So there seems to be a very large problem with this computer overall. Thankfully, Asus's customer support seems to address everyone's concerns with a very generalized statement that for sure is fixing everybody's problems. I did want to see what would happen if I contacted Asus's customer service and support regarding the temperature issue, and they basically told me that I needed to send in this computer if I wanted to address the temperature issue. You know, and I can understand that sometimes products have issues, you have to send them in for repair. But Asus seems to be very well aware of the situation currently with these computers. And if you're spending $1,500 to $1,600 on a pre-built computer, you should not have to deal with all these issues. Here's another thing too, the computer's pre-built. So you should not have to modify this computer and spend more money in order to make it function properly. All that set aside though, let's actually fix this computer and address the cooling issues ourselves. First, removing the stock air cooler shows us the thermal paste application from the factory. Asus is claiming that they have excellent quality control on their product lineup, and this seems to be a straight fantasy. After cleaning the CPU surface out and installing the saving grace of the system, which is a quality cooling solution like the Corsair H100i, we're met with a process that is a bit more frustrating than expected. Now, due to the lack of clearance in this case, mounting an air cooler can be difficult, so I chose to stick with what would actually be compatible. So after repasting the CPU with good quality thermal paste and installing the cooler, my temps are now actually manageable. What a surprise, when you use an actual good cooling solution on this computer, your temps begin to drop. Also, whoever at Asus decided it was a good idea to put a 94mm exhaust fan for this computer should absolutely know that that is underpowered for actual cooling. So they cut another corner when it comes to the cooling performance on the system. So what have we concluded with this system? That cutting corners on a good foundation can ultimately create trash. Well, yeah, Asus seemed to have all the right ideas, choosing a good quality motherboard, CPU, graphics card, and a case that is equipped with airflow in mind, but then decides to cripple it by adding some cheap RAM, an SSD, and horrible cooling solutions. Then the consistent downplaying of the issues this machine has to your customers also makes them seem more predatory than just addressing the issues in the first place. So overall, would I recommend a pre-built system like this one? Honestly, no. You should not have to spend the additional time nor the money to fix an issue that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And even if you're a tinker that enjoys modding systems, you shouldn't support practices like this, especially coming from a big name like Asus. Overall, that has been the video, guys. Let me know if you guys want to see something else related to this or anything down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you guys in the next one.